Oh, thanks, Kayla. You're being recorded, just FYI. So good morning, everybody. My name is Debbie Van Schulen. I'm the Dean for Integrated Design, Engineering, and Automation program at the IDEA building at ATEP. So we're at the Tustin location. So thank you for coming today. We're happy to see all of you. We have a great presentation to provide you this morning. There we go. I was going to say, we have our team is here. So there's me, Debbie, and then we have, I'll just let them wave, or unless you all want to introduce yourselves. So we have a number of our team here, as well as some guests, which I will get to shortly. So Caitlin Fuller is our senior admin assistant in the department. So she's there to assist with any questions or concerns or interest you have in any of our programs. We have Professor Matt Wolkin, who is an engineering faculty. Professor Naruzi is not here today. She can't be with us. She's also engineering. Professor Brett McKim is here. DMP, yay, Brett, welcome. Professor Massimo Matoila is not here today, unfortunately. He's electrical technology. And then we have Professor Ilkner Irvis White, who also teaches math and engineering for us as well. So, and real quickly, I just wanted to, we have a good number of our UCI partners here. So I'd like to give them a few minutes just to maybe introduce themselves. Dr. Green, do you want to kind of introduce your team or say hello?
Sure, happy to. Morning, everybody. I'm Michael Green, the Associate Dean for Undergraduate Student Affairs at the UCI Samuel E. School. And I'm happy to have with us our academic counselors, Christy King, Andrea Verone, and Mitzi Orme.
And Erica is with us as well, Erica Juarez.
I'm sorry, Erica Juarez as well.
Thank you. And then I also wanted to acknowledge our dedicated counselor who assists our engineering students and our engineering academy students. Judith Benavides is also here. So thank you for being here, Judith. So we have 5 programs, active programs at the IDEA at ATEP building in the school. So we have engineering, like I mentioned, drafting as well, design, model making, and prototyping, electrical technology, and electronics technology. So Professor Wolkin is going to walk through, and Professor McKim are going to walk through a number of the programs, kind of give you some details and specifics about each of the areas, and then we have time for questions as well. Do you want to take questions during, after? How would you all like to, Matt?
Sure, if anybody wants to raise a hand in the middle, that's fine.
Okay, and Caitlin, will you manage those and help with the chat?
Yes, that's not a problem. Okay. And feel free to type your questions in the chat at any time.
Yeah, thanks.
Either way. So go ahead, Matt, you can take it away.
Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Matt Wolkin. I'm the department chair at the IDEA building and for the IDEA school. What you see on the screen in front of you is the IDEA building. Caitlin, did we have the video link working on this one? I forgot to check beforehand, but the promo video, there's a link to it later on. I think this slideshow will be available for you to look at. The building itself is located in Tustin near the intersection. It's on Red Hill and Edinger, or Irvine Center Drive, so straight down from IBC. The building itself is dedicated hands-on project-based learning facility. It has a machine shop. It has, obviously what you're looking at in the picture where you have the large yellow column is the upstairs section for engineering and the downstairs section for programs like electrical, DMP, and electronics. It's a state-of-the-art facility with a lot of outstanding equipment. And as we gradually move back into the building for some on-campus instruction, you'll start to see it being utilized much more. In fact, this semester, we should have the Engineering 7 class, which is our hands-on project building class that is articulated with UCI. That class is going to be doing I think it's 2 days a month on the campus where you can get to do some hands-on fabrication and testing. So there's a lot of outstanding equipment there, and it's a really great location to get some experience with some of the equipment. You can go to the next slides. There you go. So our major program at the IDEA building and IDEA school is engineering. So we have over 400 students, and we have an extremely high transfer rate, as you can see. By having UCI here as part of our engineering academy, what we're able to do is offer a real first and second year learning experience for all the engineering students. So we have over 10 transferable UC classes, which is pretty unique in the state. So as you go through and look at some of the courses that we offer, we have a blended section where we offering where engineering is very closely related to our drafting department. So we have a lot of computer design classes. And when our courses are designed, they're all designed to be either UC or CSU transferable. So even if you don't pursue engineering, you can take classes that have, say, computer design elements to it or hands-on construction, like the Engineering 7 class. And those classes give you the opportunity to choose a pathway going down the engineering road, or eventually long-term going into something maybe that is not necessarily engineering, but has some technical skills that leads into the engineering field, like an engineering technologist, or it's going to be something like drafter or CAD designer. So when we look at the equipment and software programs, I think on the next slide, you'll see that we have quite a few to offer. So this is the certificates and degrees. So in this case, we have an AS degree for engineering, as you can see. And the one thing about engineering, as many of you who are pursuing engineering degrees are looking at, is that at a two-year school, the difficulty is we're trying to manage giving you the types of courses you need in order to generate the first and second year experience, but there's several engineering majors that encounters. So you have mechanical, electrical, computer, you can have biomedical, civil. When you look at all these different categories, what happens generally in the first and second year is you're taking math, chemistry, and physics classes, and then your general ed classes, and then you're going to be taking one, sometimes two engineering classes during those semesters where you're preparing to transfer over. So what you see on the left is that in order to give you a more open format where you not only get a chance to make the decision about which major you want to pursue, you also see that we have courses that extend themselves into those different majors. The main thing is in the first 2 years, you're generally taking classes that have some overlap with each other, which is actually a very good approach, because in most cases, and myself as a UCI alumni, what you notice is that you're taking classes that expand your breadth of engineering so that when you're committed to your junior year, you have a much better understanding of what the fields are. A lot of younger students come in and just say, I want to be an engineer, but they're not really sure about which definitive field. So you see a lot of or options in the certificate and the associate's degree. And in this case, you'll see that those courses are things like material science, a MATLAB class, which is engineering 20, engineering 30, which is statics. Later on, you'll see down at the bottom there's some computer design classes. And so by having those available to you, even if you're not necessarily pursuing one of the fields, you might take a class and find, I really want to pursue that field rather than the other one. And for the most part, a lot of them have overlap, because many of the classes you take, let's say if you're a mechanical engineer, are things like electrical network analysis. So you find that class transfers over for either type. So in the format for the COP, which is a certificate of proficiency, if you're not aware, these are usually the smaller certificates that have a smaller unit count. They generally have a more specific approach. So we give the offering for students who are not necessarily going after an AS degree, but want to get some type of certificate that completes a specific point in their engineering background. And that's a smaller certificate where you again see a lot of the OR options pop up. So in our course listing here, you can see just how many classes we have. Recently, we added the Engineering 70L, which is our lab class. So if you go through and look at this, for most of the time in a two-year school up until about 7 or 8 years ago, you didn't see this number of offerings of any kind at a two-year school. And when you look at the types of courses we have here, you'll notice that a lot of times what we try to do is have a specific articulation with say UCI, which is our major partner. But for the most part, we don't have, we have numbers that correlate directly, like Engineering 54 is Engineering 54 at UCI. But we have some classes which are counted in lieu of the fact that where you could have say Engineering 83, which is their SolidWorks class, which is the Engineering ME 52, I think. So when you're looking at the course sections, generally, whenever you're signing up, either the faculty member or your counselor is going to be able to tell you exactly which courses you need. And this just gives you an idea of how many we have. So if you have any questions, just let me know as we go through this, but it's quite a long list. So the engineering program, the main goal is to have as many students as possible who wish to transfer complete that task. And primarily it's to decrease the cost, the time to completion, and also decrease your cost. So you can see with these numbers right here, if you look at the types of students that are coming through here, in our engineering academy, generally what we're getting is a lot of students that were already applying to UCI. So when we get to the engineering academy slide, I'll talk a little bit more about that. But in general, we always have a consistent number of students that transfer out. And for the number of students that we have, it's a very, very high transfer rate. A lot of the schools, specifically like in addition to UCI, it would be Fullerton, Pomona, Riverside. When our students are going through classes at our school and they know that those students have completed our courses, they're generally much more likely to get into those transfer programs at those other four-year schools. And for the most part, as many of you who may have applied at a four-year school have found, they're very highly impacted. So it's very, very difficult to get in. When you go through a transfer pathway such as this, it gives you a much better chance to showcase what you can do in the engineering core, and then therefore get a much better opportunity to transfer in. So the completion rates and retention rates are outstanding. By the way, for our school, it's above 85% for our engineering students, which is really saying something, because it's generally fairly challenging for somebody coming in who's just never taken an engineering course, because some high schools don't necessarily have that curriculum. So it's a very good starting place. So the drafting program folds nicely into the engineering program. And the main point I want to make here is that a lot of these classes are, well, first of all, our drafting program is not nearly as big as engineering, but the drafting program itself has courses that are like, for example, there's a DR52 class where we designed and built an e-bike, which I just completed in the fall. When we're doing a class like that, that class also transfers into most CSUs and UCs. So by having this drafting program, it allows students who are maybe pursuing engineering and potentially just trying to figure out whether or not they want to go into a technical field related to engineering or drafting, to actually take the pathway of a 2-year degree or certificate and then go right to work. By the way, as many of you may have found out, this is one of the best job markets I've ever seen for some students, specifically for computer-aided design. There's ads that pop up daily on my note where it's work from home and legitimately do CAD work from where you're at. I mean, I think I saw one from SpaceX. It was about 3 weeks ago saying you could work at home and do CAD. So that's really unheard of in the CAD field, where somebody from outside the area is coming directly into our area and saying we're willing to hire. So it's a really nice way where even if you're at a 2-year point and you want to start working, you can take what you've used and leverage it into a position. But what we cover is mechanical primarily, and then you'll see there's an architectural class, DR103, which is going to be taught this semester. We use AutoCAD and Revit, which is a program that designs what's called building information modeling. So the full house, and at the end you have a schedule of all the materials. So it's a really state of the art, and it's also the standard program nowadays for basic architectural design. But those courses fold nicely in with our engineering program, but also give the students an alternative to looking outwards and saying, okay, I'm at this point, I'm not quite sure I want to proceed, and it gives you a pathway directly into the professional field. So all of these courses are articulated as well. You'll see that DR50, which is a mechanical entry level, it's more of a basic, simple AutoCAD class. So it's a good place to start if you're not quite sure. And then if you have an interest in it, DR52, which is probably our most technical CAD class, is the one where we actually have students design, build, and test e-bikes. Unfortunately, it was off campus this year, but the students did it virtually, and I just had a student complete their build and email me the results yesterday. So when you're doing this type of course, we always try to have a project-based learning experience involved with it. And for the most part, you'll see that in just about every one of them, but in particular, DR52 is an excellent one if you really want to learn how things function and then test it. So those are the key ones for drafting. And then software, we have a lot. The main thing is when you look at courses at our school, if you enroll in any course, you can access, for example, the entire Autodesk suite. All you need is an ivc.edu email. Primarily, we teach AutoCAD, and then we also have, you can see in the top portion of it, Revit, which is the architectural class I mentioned, and then the e-bike class uses Inventor and Fusion 360, which is Autodesk products, and all of those can be had by any student as long as you go into the Autodesk educational portal and sign in and sign up with your student ID and your student email address. But we also use SolidWorks primarily for our UC transferable class, so that's the Engineering 83 class, and then we have MATLAB. And we also have access to a larger suite of programs in addition to the ones that we use here, especially when we're on campus. So a lot of what you see under open source is things that we use in our entry-level classes or in some of our material that we cover that is on campus. So like Engineering 7 uses a lot of the programs you'll see that are in there. So if any of them look familiar to you or you have questions on it, just please let me know. But we do have some certifications. Primarily, SolidWorks is our active one where we're still working. I know Debbie and I have worked on it for quite a while to get the Certiport one for Autodesk, but in most cases, the certification exams are done online now, which is a big relief because in the past, some of them had been done on campus. But for us right now, it's primarily SolidWorks, but in the future, we expect to have Autodesk. It's just not available right at this moment. And then in addition to that, you always have options to take things like our MS Office certifications, which is through our business classes at IBC. And then here's the certificates, which thankfully, these are just been updated. So this shows you the new format for computer-aided design certificate of achievement. We have an AS degree and a certificate of achievement. They're identical, so I just listed it here on the left. Again, you'll see some OR options in there. Primarily with computer design, it's more about having exposure to different fields. So in this case, you'll see the top DR50 is a mechanical class. Engineering 21 is just a very simple 1-unit entry-level engineering course where you do simulated assignments with mostly freeware programs. And then Engineering 23 is a little bit of civil. And then engineering 7 is the hands-on. It's what we're doing in engineering 7, by the way. The hands-on class that we're teaching this semester on campus 2 days a month is going to be a wall climbing robot. So typically a kind where you have a fan that adheres it to the wall, or other techniques to get the vehicle to stay on the wall. But that class is in the drafting section. So students get at least one class where they're physically handling components. And then DR 103, which is architectural, which doesn't fit nicely into engineering, but gives you the exposure outside of just purely mechanical or electrical or civil. So DR 103 is in the drafting certificate of achievement in AS degree. And then you'll see there's the SolidWorks class. And then at the bottom, you'll see the DR 52 is listed in an OR format with engineering 25, which is a fairly difficult class to find throughout the state. The engineering 25 class is a civil 3D class. So it's actually the state-of-the-art method of modeling civil projects. So earthworks, and if some of you are interested in, like, say, drone or aerial survey, that's the class that is offered there. On the other side, you'll see that we have certificates of proficiency. Again, those are the smaller ones, usually 15 units or 16 units. So those classes, they're there. We have a mechanical specific one and then a civil specific one. Those are the just condensed versions of what you see on the left over on the right. And as I said, this labor market is outstanding. It's one of the best ones I've seen. So if you go online and look at the news, you'll see that there are more job openings than there are in terms of current status than there are unemployment, active individuals on unemployment. So there's a very large job market. And one of the biggest benefits of even starting a project or program within engineering or drafting is that you get some hands-on experience very, very quickly through the computer aided design classes. And again, some of those jobs are actually overtly saying work from home, which you don't see very often. I know a lot of it has been work at home just because of the outbreak, but generally long-term work at home where it's project-based, where you get things handed to you and then you complete them on task. It's a really smart way to get started in the field and to work your way up so you can figure out what exactly you want to do. So I would say, if you haven't looked at it, I have a web page that you might see. I think it's on the last link, where my homepage that I created for myself, which is a private one. You can see on the job section there, I usually update it with job listings. I just get tired copying and pasting the number of job openings that posted up that are related to engineering and drafting, even for 2-year students. So there's quite a few out there. So make sure you take a look at that. That's okay. So okay.
All right, my name is Oaknervis White. I go by Professor White because it's a complicated name. I teach full-time at IVC. I teach both mathematics and engineering. And I usually pick up one engineering class every semester. So this semester I have statics. And this is a class that mechanicals and civils have to take. It's their major prep. These classes, like Matt said, they are all articulated. If we are a feeder school to UCI, so we can take these classes at IVC and free up. And actually, Michael can tell you that after you transfer, if you think that you're going to only put 2 years and get out of UCI, is a dream. So you need at least 3 years, even though you do things, and take as many engineering classes as you can at IVC, so that you free up your schedule to take more exciting classes after you transfer. So those are articulated to both Cal States and UC schools. So yeah, so I really recommend that you try to free up maybe one class, even though you are a very first semester student, and take an engineering class. Next slide. All right. I've been an ASIC advisor forever. I've been at IVC for 21 years, and I'm one of the veterans. And so I saw the ATEP campus being built. It is a lovely place. And when I teach engineering, I drive up there. Now I am in my kitchen, but I usually drive up to ATEP. That is a great change from the IVC campus. I'm not putting IVC campus down, but it's just the ATEP campus is really, really nice. Anyway, so make sure that we are a small group of faculty. So make sure you befriend those people and you know them by their first names, their phone numbers and stuff. So one way to do that with me is to join ASEC. That's Applied Science and Engineering Club. We have been around for 12 years or so. All majors and disciplines are welcome. We focus on engineering. However, we have quite a number of biology, science, physics majors that are coming and joining us because, like I said, we are doing applied science. So all that math, physics, and chemistry and all those classes you are taking, they have an application. So that's what we do. We've been meeting last year on Zoom, believe it or not, and we have a lot of money to spend this year. We do 3D printing, we do robotics, and we do not give you a grade. So that means you are pretty relaxed about it. And I want to actually introduce Ria Shah. She is this year's president. Take it away, Ria.
Hi everyone. So I joined ASEC my first year at IVC, and for sure it's been so much more helpful when it comes to picking classes and meeting people. Some of the few reasons why I believe that you guys should join ASEC is because you all can make some lifelong connections. I know I made a lot of great friends here at ASEC. And then it's also a really unforgettable college experience. You get to really learn a lot of different things about engineering that you really wouldn't get to, I guess, learn other than joining this club. And then you also get to connect with the community, which is also great. You get to make connections with job offers and internships, which is a lot of fun.
So we have a video. So this is one of our ASIC members who prepared it. It just gives you a taste of it. And there will be the email in there. The best thing is just to email us and join the club. Here we go.
Welcome to ASEC.
All right, I think the best thing to do is to email us and we'll make you a member. Here it is, ivcasicinfo@gmail.com. And just tell us you want to serve on ASEC. Here are our meeting dates. And we are starting September 10th, but we would like you to get going before that time and tell us what you would like to do. We are very open to ideas and projects that you may bring in. So we are ready for you. So come and join us. And we have, we've been having transfer day to UCI and you guys have been attending this. This year it's on hold because everything is Zoom right now, but we have the meetings, Zoom meetings, and hopefully in the spring, we will be in person. So hopefully that will be the case. All right. Well, thank you guys. That's all we have.
Thank you, Elkner. And Ria, there's a question in the chat. Is there a Discord for the ASEC club?
Yeah, we have a Discord. I'll put the link in the chat.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brett McKim, I'm with the Design, Model Making, and Prototyping Department, DMP program. And what we do is we provide instruction on how to make things, how to create things. Matt Wilkin has done a wonderful job with the engineering program of bringing hands-on experiences into the engineering program, but there are a lot of engineers in the world that don't have the faintest idea how to create anything. And that's where our students come in. We're able to take ideas from prints, from CAD drawings, even from pencil sketches, and we can convert those into 3D objects that can be held and evaluated. It's very important because the majority of the population can't look at a computer screen and decide and figure out and determine what things look like, feel like, or even their size. DMP students validate what engineering creates. We make what is being engineered so that it can be held and touched and evaluated. In our environment, we deal with hands-on skills, traditional model making. We deal with 3D printing. We deal with CNC machining, and we deal with quality control. It's from beginning to end of a product. That's the environment where we are. Go ahead, next. Not only can you do my students create during their standard workday, but the majority of my students, they have valuable skills, and they will use those to create things above and beyond. A lot of our students have side businesses that they'll create where they can generate their own environment. We deal with engineering, we can deal with special effects, we deal with the automotive studios. We work in the design and development of medical devices. Anything where you don't want a square box. Anything that has a feel and a logic to it of how to create something. That's where a DMP student, that's where our students are at their best. Next, please. Some of the things that are involved in a normal day-to-day avenue of a DMP student, of a product development student, involves a number of pieces of equipment. We have laser cutters, we have 3D printers, we cast urethane parts. We'll use Photoshop to generate transfers. We machine things. We create from a toolbox of techniques. We will generate an accurate representation, an accurate part, accurate components that go into assemblies, entire assemblies, to demonstrate and prove items that exist. In Orange County, it couldn't be one of the better places for a DMP student to exist, because we have automotive design, we have the standard product design, we have toy development, we have cosplay, we have the movie industries, we have the laser and the optics industries. Everything is in Orange County, and it's a fabulous place to be a model maker and someone from DMP. Next, please. The courses that we have this semester involve our traditional studio classes. So you get the beginnings, the basic understandings of machine knowledge and materials. How do you get a material to work the way you want it to? How do you decide on the materials that you need to create a product? That's what we discussed this semester in our DMP courses. Additionally, we have Rapid Viz. We have courses that teach you how to sketch. Sometimes a computer doesn't work as fast as you want it to, or as you hoped that it would. A pencil and a piece of paper is a fantastic way to start an entire project. Sketch down things, thumbnails, larger sketches, concepts, resolve and evolve those sketches into something that will then go into CAD. We use SolidWorks in our environment. SolidWorks will work for our CNC equipment. It'll work for our 3D printers, our laser cutters, our plasma cutters, our vinyl machines. It's a fabulous piece of software, and that's what we concentrate with. We also have an introductory course of an overview. What would you do if you were a product designer, a model maker, someone in our environment? Additionally, we have materials and processes classes. Materials, how do you injection mold something? How do you decide between injection molding and vacuum forming? What's the best process for the product that you want to design? Next, please. So these are some of the semesters and how it gets laid out. On average, 2 to 2.5 years, between 4 and 5 semesters, and you're out. But if you have a passion and you have an interest for this, more often than not, we can get you employed, we can get you into the industry after 2 classes. A number of environments that are around us that are anxious to hire students that have a common sense, a knowledge of materials, and how do they work? How do you make something? Unfortunately, in Irvine, in Orange County at the moment, not a lot of students have the opportunity to play in a garage all day and determine how to make things. We give, with our courses, we give that opportunity to understand how to develop an idea into an actual product. Next, please. Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks, Brett. I couldn't agree more, by the way, with what Brett was saying. I always recommend engineering students or drafting students or anybody at IDEA or the main campus take at least one DMP class, because they make the fullest use of our equipment. And many times students come out of there much better for the experience and having physical product that they build out that went from beginning to middle to end and then testing that they wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. So very well done. So when you look at the Engineering Academy, I think in a minute here, I'll see if Dr. Green or Christy wants to add in. I'm just going to start off by going over the basics. And then I think maybe on the second slide, either Judith or anybody else can start to chime in here. What I want to do is just give you an overview of it. The main thing about the UCI IVC Engineering Academy, so I think we're in our 5th or 6th year now. The Academy itself, the way it started out was as a portal for the students who applied to UC Irvine. Generally speaking, it's the students that were waitlisted. As I said, again, many of the campuses are impacted heavily. So what we wanted to do is give those students an opportunity to come back and use UCI or IVC as a conduit to get back into the UCI engineering, Samuel Lee School of Engineering, as close as possible to a true junior level. So when you're given an opportunity, it comes from UCI through their evaluation process. IVC basically just accepts the students after they've applied. And generally, it's the waitlisted students that are the primary objective of getting sent back over to IVC. When they come through our school, they then get guaranteed counseling services with someone outstanding, in this case, Judith. You have your 2-year plan set up. You have check-ins. We have a lot of additional support elements in place for our students. Primarily, you get priority enrollment, so you have held seats for most of your classes. So it's a big advantage to go through this. You generally, what it's in line with is, as some of you already know, the UC has the tag agreements, which the transfer guarantee, that allows you to get into the UCs. But what the UCI Academy does, or the UCI IVC Engineering Academy does, is it allows you to go directly into the Samuel Lee School of Engineering, which is a little different because we're gearing it specifically for a major, making sure you have all the right requirements, keeping you on track with GPAs, and then giving you that priority enrollment option once you get in there when you apply. So we did have our largest cohort in 2019.
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. If you're looking at the sizes, it did come down a little bit in size from the 2019 date, primarily because as we move forward, I know that a lot of the students that were waitlisted had been moving to other schools, and so there was a little bit drop. One thing that does for us is it allows the students that are coming in to have a much more personal experience. The biggest advantage that we have is coming to the Academy too is for your first 2 years, speaking from going to UCI myself, you generally get much smaller class sizes at IVC. So usually for engineering, our cap is around 30. So for our general ed, it's rarely over 45. Sometimes there's a very large lecture, but generally they're around 30 to 45. So that's a huge advantage. When you're going through and taking your math, chemistry, physics, a lot of students find that it's a really nice advantage to have much more personal office hours and smaller class sizes. But as far as the enrollments and additional elements, you get a lot of support directly from UCI as well. As you can see today by having Dr. Green and Christy here, when we look at the actual format of it, you're going to be involved with UCI key events. You're going to be on their, they have a Facebook, they have a direct event where we have them log in, and we're going to have we have an NSF STEM grant, which you'll see in a moment, where we have the students tie in to larger group type scholarships and events and job placements that are available to regular UCI students. So there's a lot of additional benefits, but just to make sure it's clear, the primary way you get into the Academy is you apply to UCI. So those of you that are here from the portal where you applied to UCI and you're waiting your bet, or if you already did it, you would have found out that this is the way that you get in. It's not handled by IVC. So we'll talk more about this, but I just wanted to see the second slide, Caitlin. So as you can see, one of the things I always point out too, is not least of which, is that you get a much lower cost. And so the first 2 years, if you're looking at it from just a purely cost basis, it's around 13 to 15,000 at any UC right now for just tuition costs and fees. At IVC, we're under 1,500. So over 2 years, you're looking at $20,000 to $25,000 in savings and just alone. Another one that I point out most often is the second bullet there, which is that you have a lot more time and opportunity to explore which major you want to pursue. When you apply to a UC or Cal State, being that they're so heavily impacted, doing things like switching majors and finding out after you've already invested a year or two, then time that you want to switch majors. And generally within the engineering field, it's not as major of a problem, but if you're trying to switch out of engineering or come into it, it's really difficult. And if you haven't heard, it's nearly impossible to get a second bachelor's or even go in and get a, you have a bachelor's and you're gonna get a second bachelor's degree while you're still going there. It's much more difficult because of the number of people applying and the limited number of spaces that are available. So while you're at IVC, you get that opportunity to take those courses and go, this is really what I think I want to do before committing completely up front and then being locked into classes where you're not quite sure if you want to do it and then find yourself too far along to actually switch it in a very smooth manner. So as I said, the class sizes being very small. The instructional side of IDEA, as you move onto campus, affords you a lot more time on the equipment by in smaller groups, especially if you could take a DMP class in addition to that. And the project-based learning elements are involved in every class. Even our material science class, for example, over the summer has a case study section where the students have to find, a broken object and do an analysis on it. So we always try to have that project-based learning element to it so that students get that really that individual feedback so that you can get a much better idea of what it's like to go and pursue that field, for example, like material science engineering. And then check the next slide, Kate. The NSF STEM, what I was going to do is once I cover this, I was going to leave it open for Professor Green or Christy, if you or Judith wants to add anything onto it, let me know, because the STEM grant is one where this is primarily, if you think about scholarships, especially at a UC, they're very challenging to get. Region scholarships are relatively small in comparison to your amount of funding that you receive. But unlike private schools, there's not as much money generally given to students that are just doing a purely academic pursuit at UC or Cal State. NSF STEM was developed, you can see it was a grant which we did with UCI starting in 2018, where we have still a significant amount of funds available. And on all of our classes, you'll see from myself to Professor Naruzzi to Professor White, anybody who's teaching engineering classes, what we do is we have this in our Canvas shell to let you know that any student who is considered low income, and so that's really the main requirement. What you consider low income, if you're not even sure what that means when you apply, usually it's a FAFSA form. You'll see that this will be the method for evaluating you for the group. You can apply, and it's a very, very short application. 1 page, takes less than 10 minutes. You could potentially get a full ride scholarship for 4 years. It feels crazy even having to sell it like this, but every year we've had fewer students apply than there were openings, which is insane. Because even if you're not quite sure that you could get in, you should apply. So NSF STEM grants are generally for low-income students to go through and get an engineering scholarship. And if you get it at IVC, what you'd receive if you're approved, besides the fact that you get additional benefits of having faculty and mentors and additional counseling mentors and having a group where we come together and we share additional elements, for example, like job placement and things like that, and methods for figuring out more effective ways to earn your transfer in a shorter amount of time. You get $6,500 a year while you're at IVC. And then if you transfer successfully to UCI, you get another $10,000 a year. So I think that should speak for itself in the fact that if you apply and you receive that, it means that even if you're not quite sure, you should go through the process, because yes, we have streamlined it quite a bit. And yes, there are still quite a number of openings. So make sure you take a look at that when it comes up. Now, I was going to say if Professor Green or Christy or Judith, anybody wanted to add anything in?
I just wanted to add that in order to be eligible for the guaranteed admission to UCI through the TAG program, as of now, the requirements are that students complete at least a 7-course pattern. So that is 7 GE courses, a list of major preparation classes, and those major classes have to be completed with at least a 3.0 GPA, and your overall GPA needs to be a 3.4 GPA a year before you actually transfer. So I do work with the engineering students at IVC. So if you'd like to schedule an appointment, I'll include my email in the chat, but those are hard requirements. So that's the only way that you can get the guaranteed admission.
Thanks, Judith. Trust me, communicate with Judith often is your best road to success in engineering. Anything else? Okay. Jane, do I go to the next slide?
Oh, I'm so
Oh.
sorry. I didn't hear her name. I'm so sorry. I would like to schedule an appointment.
Oh, Judith? Yeah, there it is in the chat. You can see it.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, I'll just cover ELEC and ET, then Caitlin. So Professor Mitolo is not available for today, so I'll just go through the ELEC and ET are the other programs that fill out the IDEA program. So it's DMP, engineering drafting, electrical technology, and electronics technology. For the ELEC program, which is primarily headed by Professor Mitolo, you'll see that it's generally about electrician work at an advanced level. So you can see there's electrical and solar technology field. You'll see that it's generally split into residential, industrial, and commercial wiring. So there's classes on OSHA safety standards, wiring, there's a photovoltaics. The curriculum has a lot of courses that are geared to get students working right away, especially if you have certified classes. So if you have, again, just like everything else IDEA, it's a very hands-on approach to learning. And by the way, Professor Mitolo teaches the engineering 70 and 70L classes in engineering. So his PhD is in electrical engineering. So when you take some of these courses and you get an opportunity to work with them early on in these hands-on classes, I always recommend students. So for example, if you're going to do electrical engineering, take an ELEC or ET class. If you're going to do mechanical, take a DMP class. They all lend themselves to having either shared faculty or shared experiences with equipment that are a huge advantage when you're trying to get workable skills before you even get a chance to transfer. So even summer internships, these are big ticket items for, say, summer internships, or getting part-time work that's on a term basis. So you can see right here, it's one of the few state grouped. You can see the school number and the electrician training under assembly bill here, which Professor Mitchell is very well on top of. So he's a member of IEEE, and he's actually one of the main members. If you go through and look at his resume, which I think is at the end, his link is in there, you'll be able to see that the standards and development that he's created has generated a program where we have a directed training program that allows students to complete it. And typically, if you're fully committed and the classes are available, you'll be able to complete this in less than 2 years. But as the program is developed, the curriculum standards are directly in line with the certification committee and typically the electrical trades unions. So the way the classes are formatted, if you see on this case, the job outlook, I mean, a year or two ago, when everybody started the work at home format, the enrollment surged as a lot of students realized that there were going to be a lot of openings in the electrical field. And specifically, it's to be beyond electrician, but also wiring, and then working into commercial industrial wiring. So in this case, if you look through these listings here, the amount of money that's being invested, specifically in California, where you have a lot of alternative energy sources, which is driving a demand for this. This is a great way to see how you can work in skill sets that you may have dedicated for one field, whether it was engineering or you're going to do something more hands-on. Just taking one or two of these classes gives you that approach where you can say, I can handle this, I can work my way up. And then you have a very definitive set of classes in structured order where you can actually say, at this point, when I get this class completed, I would be able to apply for that job. Sometimes in other degrees, it's not so easy to do that, where you have 3 classes. I get this quite a bit where students say, I've completed this class and this class, do you think I can get that job? And very often in the past, it had been the job was saying somebody with, SolidWorks 4 years in engineering experience. And the answer would usually be no, they're looking for someone who actually has been working in the field for 4 years. This is a much more definitive step-by-step process of saying, do you have the skill set? Check, yes, you're completed, go into it. Another advantage you'll see at the bottom is that we are now in automation, where we have a shared automation grant with San Diego Canyon College. And when we're looking at the format of this, now what we're doing is we're blending our ELEC and ET classes into and incorporating in an automation certificate. The automation element, which we already have several robotic items at our school. We have a KUKA robot. We have a lot of automation equipment. When we're looking at having this project developed, Professor Mitchell has been an integral factor in getting this up and running, where we have a large scale automation program, which shares courses with other 2-year community colleges that allows you to take those classes at any one of the other ones, which I know for some of you who are finding that certain programs and classes may not be offered every semester and you're trying to complete it in the fewest number of sessions possible. This is one of the benefits of having a shared program where you have classes that link into other schools where you can check and see, okay, that class is available there, I can complete it. And then they all form into one cohesive certificate. So that's what we're trying to do with automation, as you can see at the bottom there. And as you can see, we have this, you should start to see even more. I mean, this equipment, this is in the ELEC, this is the downstairs lab. You'll see that a lot of the wiring systems are very hands-on recreations of what you'd see at any industrial wiring and fabrication techniques that you'd see used in the field. Beyond that, you'll see that with the new equipment coming in for automation, it's a much larger array of materials that we use that's also shared with engineering and ET. So you can see right here, just the median salary and electricians. And again, a lot of times with the joke is with electricians is that's the salary range. If you talk about hourly, sometimes that goes up dramatically. But just like I was mentioning with DMP for mechanical engineers, taking these types of electrical classes gives you a pathway where even if you've committed, say, a year or two and you decide you want to go a different route, you can build a background in electrical work so you can become an electrician and then maybe filter back in engineering or stay an electrician and make a career out of either way. So you may not have to pursue a four-year degree. The important thing is to keep pathways open as you go along it so that you find yourself with a salary that allows you to live in an area that you want and maintain an educational level that gives you an opportunity to grow into it, not just stay statically at one point. So the ET program, you'll notice here, the electronics program is typically the classes where I would say, again, with ELEC is more about wiring and safety standards and things having to do with commercial and residential structures. ET is more about electronics. So there's a lot of work with oscilloscopes and function generators. It's very much in line with what you'd see in like a lab class for an engineering elect class. And in fact, a lot of the equipment in the ET program is used for like engineering 70L, which you'll see is going to be something that will be coming online in the spring of this next coming year. But as far as the courses themselves, you'll see that the core courses here, basic electric circuits 1 and 2, and then electronic devices. Those are usually the core student pathways that allow you to take the classes and then get the basics. They're more of the hands-on type. It's directly analogous to like say a DMV class where you take a class section where you have material that you're physically sitting down, testing it, making sure that it works, or troubleshooting, which is a very hard thing to do online. So for the last year or two, it's been more problematic to have these classes offered because we wanted to have them on campus. And now that we're gradually moving back, you'll start to see that. But it's important that you look into taking these types of courses. And you can see we have the state-approved certificate of achievement in it, which is generally you're going to get exposure to all the basic ET type classes where it's basic circuits, but then you'll usually have something that's a little bit more advanced added on to it. But for the most part, a lot of those classes transfer over to the CSUs. So you'll find, I think Long Beach is one of the integral partners with having the articulation agreements. So when you get those hands-on elements taken care of, oftentimes if you end up going to say a CSU, you'll find that those classes articulate similar to if you were taking them for just electrical engineering. And I think because this is, ET is also going to be folded in with ELEC in terms of the automation program. You'll notice that the microcontrollers, robotics, a lot of that is shared between this program and what will be integrated into automation. So this was just a list of some of our, obviously UCI being at the top, which we were quite a bit with, but in terms of the courses that we have offered, for example, obviously you guys know that Saddleback is our sister college. So Saddleback, for example, the drafting is a major element for our CAD program. They have architectural drafting. We primarily focus on mechanical and civil. But in terms of businesses, Edwards Life Sciences, I think I have 11 students that work there. If you look at some of the business relationships we have, especially locally, in Orange County, most of the businesses tend to be small to mid-size. When we have our programs go through and complete, by having these extra classes that are very hands-on, they find that our students are very well versed in the material they want. And sometimes they get those positions that are not quite for bachelor's level yet. So generally when we're doing job offerings, and especially like on me, I have a LinkedIn page, and I think you'll be able to see it on my homepage when you get there, my LinkedIn page, and having that created where your students can find active positions, we find that having those tied in relationships with where ex-students or our faculty members work is a really big advantage for us. I think. So I think that was enough. I didn't know if anybody else wanted to add in here. Debbie?
I don't have anything. You have all of our contact information, and these link, yes, directly to the email. Is that accurate?
I think, yeah, my LinkedIn, I think that the formatting got thrown up, but when you open it, it should be cleaned up. Yeah, those are the links directly to LinkedIn. I think those hyperlinks for to email. Yeah. And
this is our location in Tustin. We're not currently on site because the campus is still closed or remote, but we are available via email or phone. Caitlin's available, I'm available. As Professor Wolken mentioned, a few faculty will be on site this semester and doing some in-person classes, which is nice to get back, but it does have our website there. And then there's our building, beautiful building, which Ilkner referenced, and it's sitting behind her as well in her virtual background, but it is a beautiful space, and it's unfortunate that you can't see it in person because it truly is just a remarkable space. The design and the Windows, Matt has his in the virtual background too. It's a great space to study and hang out and be a part of the great program there. Thanks, Eleanor. Caitlin, is there a next slide? Oh. So, and that's right. This is where the recording will be, correct, at the conclusion. And we have a lot of, Dr. Green, did your team have anything to share? Anybody have any questions? We have a few minutes left, but we obviously can stay on longer if there's more questions. Anybody have anything? Feel free to raise your hands or unmute yourself and speak freely.
Just a question. What should like someone who I like engineering, but I still want to figure out what subfield I want to go in. Like, what should I be doing on my first year of IVC? Should I just finish up all my general education requirements, or like cumulative and major requirements that every kind?
Well, Judith, in my mind, there are some entry-level engineering courses. For example, like Engineering 21 would be an outstanding class to take. What I basically do in that class, and it's only one unit, so I know usually students are they're overloaded with math, chemistry, physics, general ed. The one unit Engineering 21 class, what we do is we go week by week covering all the major disciplines and then doing mock assignments, and then having those assignments along with a resume help you fine tune which direction you want to go. So I highly recommend that. But Judith, you might have some more input on that.
Yeah, so, engineering is a high unit major. So there's really no way for you to just kind of focus on general ed your first semester, because every semester you have to take calculus and then specific science. There's some engineering that require chemistry, some don't. So you do have to decide soon, maybe not your first semester. And I also included in the chat, I encouraged you to take Engineering 21 because I know Professor Wilkin breaks down the different types of engineering, labor market information, what type of occupations you can obtain. So I think that, and then I always encourage students to also use YouTube to your advantage. Look up what the jobs look like on a day-to-day basis, see what kind of fields your interest. And then as soon as you start advancing through the engineering classes, I think you're gonna really find your niche and what you feel passionate about.
Okay, so first semester, it's okay to take regular classes, and then you say at second semester, start picking up the pace towards engineering specific major classes.
That's fine, yeah, but you do need math first semester, regardless of what engineering you're gonna decide. So just make sure as long as you have math, you're good.
All right, okay, thank you.
I would try to squeeze in ASIC meetings. They are on Fridays in the afternoon. I have to pitch that because I teach math. They are all full already. And so you can look at the prerequisites and take the ones that have low prerequisites, like Math 20, right? Engineering 20.
Yeah.
And Engineering 30 has requires third semester physics or something. You cannot take any of those guys anyway. So focus on your major prep, physics and all those things, get it out of the way, attend ASIC meetings, and then come and take a class, at a minimum, one class per semester after that.
Yeah, another big thing about ASIC is that communicating with other students who are like-minded in terms of going into engineering is a really efficient way to get the most information. There's only so much faculty and counselors can offer sometimes. So if you talk to other students and get that interface, it allows you to get a better feel for which classes you need or which direction you want to go. But early on, that would probably be the other recommendation. Yes, for sure.
Well, thank you very much. It just I'm just trying to study become a computer engineer, because that's the only thing I was thinking of, because I know a lot of programming and I built a couple robots, but I just don't know but no, I don't want to take all your time. Thank you very much. I just want to make sure that I finish everything on time, so I'm able to not be held behind,
Yeah, just talk to Judith. She'll make sure. Yeah, that's amazing. And look for Matt. I would say Engineering 20 and Engineering 21. Those would be the two classes.
Got it. Thank you.
So it is almost 10 o'clock. I know that the students have more sessions to attend as part of Laser Day. So to get to the Zoom links for those meetings, you can just type this link into the chat, admissions.ivc.edu/laserday/schedule to pick out what track that you want to go on. But if you would like to stay on and talk to some of our faculty for a few more. We will stay on for a few more minutes to answer any questions that you might have. But it was wonderful having everyone. I hope you enjoy the rest of your laser day. And again, feel free to stick around if you have any burning questions for our faculty.
Bye, everyone.
All right, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be that guy, like, but I just have one final question. Wait, hello,
No
is you
problem.
there?
Yeah, we're
Oh,
here.
good.
Go
Yeah.
for it.
All right, okay. So, like, I'm taking pre-calculus right now. So, like we're, it's, I just don't know if I could qualify for like certain engineering things, like at the moment, because I'm only taking pre-calculus and like do the other. And I also want to make sure, like, is that a good like start for a person? Like, because I'm taking pre-calculus right now. Like, do you think I would be held behind or something? Like, I'm not
There's
saying
no
grade
being-
wise.
Yeah, there's no being held behind and there's no transferring on time. It's doing things in the way that works for you. So if you placed in pre-calculus, that means that you have the skills and the foundation to start in pre-calculus. That's going to prepare you for Calc 1, Calc 2, Calc 3. And so college is not the same as high school where you have to complete certain grades and courses in specific years. It's doing what works for you. Everyone has an individual journey. So I think starting with pre-calculus is great. That does tell me as a counselor that you will be at IVC for at least 3 years because of your math placement. And which is great because that means you're going to complete these very rigorous courses in a way that's manageable. And then it also increases the chances that you're going to get strong GPA so that you can tag UCI or apply to other universities that you would like to attend. So, so to answer your question, yeah, it doesn't mean that you're behind or it's good or it's bad. It's just doing, you know, where it's just starting in the place where you're prepared to start. So yeah, I hope, does that answer your question?
Yeah, pre-calc is definitely, it's a very typical class, and the engineering 21 and 20, they don't have any prerequisites, so you should be able, especially because the MATLAB class, engineering 20 is a very good choice. If you, the earlier you take it, the better.
Engineering 20 actually does have a prerequisite of
It's a recommended.
It's
We
calculus. Yeah, it's
we recommend it. Okay, so when we had to recommend it, that class was the calculus class. So engineering 21 is the one that does an engineering 20 now, as it's not recommended. It was a prep class. Now it's a regular class.
Okay, I see. Like, thank you very much. It's just that, like, yeah, I forgot my question, but thank you very much. I'll talk to you guys another time. But thank you very much.
We'll follow up on a one-on-one.
All right, thank you. You guys have a great day.
You too.
all right. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye, Elkner. Are there any other questions from any students? All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.
Okay.